don't believe me about this, though. I'm kind of sick, so if it sounds weird, that's tough. In the past, game developers would have to put everything into selling a game. They would have to market the game well, they would have to make the game look very fun and engaging, and most importantly, they would have to make an actually good game that was worth people's time and money. These days, developers only have to work on marketing and making the game look good to get people to invest into their games. They can make most of the money they use for advertising back through microtransactions. Microtransactions are purchases players make to get in-game items. In the past, they were seldom used until the mobile game market came into the picture, where developers had in-app purchases in almost all of their games. This is spread to console games as well, where both games paid and free will have microtransactions in them, allowing players to buy skins or in-game currency. Usually, these are lame as hell.
An 18-year-old girl from Singapore just put her dad $20,000 deep in debt after spending it all on the game Genshin Impact.
Reason number one as to why microtransactions suck is because it has elements of contained gambling. Gacha games like Dragon Ball Legends, Lost Claudia, and Genshin Impact trade in-game currency for random in-game items, just like loot boxes. They have crazy advertising and make their games look insane.
She looks down upon her realm, at mortal joys and woes.
I'm sure you've seen them before. Gacha games and games with loot boxes, especially in the mobile market, have taken over the video game world. Successful games like Genshin somewhat does this gacha type of game right. They allow their players to get premium currency if they do story missions and events, and their gacha system is straightforward and allows players to pull the exact characters they want free of charge. Usually.
You see, in gacha games, the way you get characters is by summoning. There are certain percentages of getting things we call rates. To encourage us to spend money on the game, developers of gacha games make these rates awful, making it really easy to get nearly useless garbage most of the time, and something that's actually useful sometimes, something that's really broken other times, but rarely. To make it fair though, gacha games have a pity system, where you can get the useful and broken units after a specific amount of summoning. Some games even have roadmaps, allowing us to plan out what characters we want. Isn't that awesome?
Even so, this game doesn't do everything right. The game locks characters and weapons that flip the game's challenge in half behind these gacha elements. Getting a character like Zhongli allows players to take damage rarely ever, and getting a character like Zhao, well, this is one of the more fair gacha games, however. Other games have terrible rates and no pity system, pretty much forcing their players to pay for better weapons. It's even worse when the game has player versus player elements, pretty much turning the game into a game where you have to pay more for summons to get better and win, coining the term pay to win. As I said before, loot boxes and gacha games are contained gambling. Gambling, if done a lot, can mess up your whole life. Beating the odds is something humans love doing, and even if they lose a couple times, they'll still do it, believing that they'll win eventually. This has led a small portion of people who spend way too much money on those games to exist. Call them whales. You've probably seen a couple of videos where people spend thousands on a single gacha game on YouTube. Some end up getting nothing due to that specific game not having a pity system, essentially wasting all of their money. Smaller gaming companies became successful due to their loot box strategy in the past. Other, bigger companies noticed, like Valve, and started to follow suit, also becoming successful off of microtransactions. That led to even more companies knowing about the practice as well, essentially taking over the gaming world. This is especially prevalent in mobile games, where most of the games on the market have loot boxes implemented into them, and it has made the mobile market one of the leading sources of income in the video game industry. That isn't the only new practice that's becoming popular though.
What a miserable fucking game.
Downloadable content, aka DLC, has become one of the new things video game companies have been adding to their games. It isn't that new. It started with games on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but have been a mainstay ever since. Free DLC isn't really a problem, even though it is annoying. See, it's really annoying. I buy my game on release day, come home, attempt to start playing, but sometimes instead of just playing the game, I gotta wait another hour for the game to patch. Like, what is this? It's not right, man. I don't know why this has become a thing. Please stop. Paid DLC is the problem here. If a game has been out for a while, it's complete, and releases some new content to add to its lifespan that's new and fresh, then sure, it's cool. Perfectly fine with that. And I appreciate those types of DLC. However, so many games start off with a good idea just for them to just drop it like unfinished and then have us wait for them to release new content to the game instead of making another game just like it or adding content to the game. This is after paying $60, mind you, and they want us to pay more. My favorite example of paid DLC is Sonic Mania. At first, the game released for $20. It was a complete game. There were 3 playable characters, a bunch of stages, and enough things to keep me busy for about 40 hours. Then a while later, I don't really remember, they released 2 new characters, Mighty and Ray, added a new game mode, a bunch of quality of life changes, and pretty much added stuff for me to do, all for $5. But sadly, not all games are as based as Sonic Mania. Gaming companies have decided to release half-baked games and release the rest of the content as DLC. Easy examples to pick at are Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. While their previous games, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and BlazBlue Central Fiction, had most of their roster come with the game on release, their next games locked half of their rosters behind a paywall. Mind you, those games were $60 on release. If you want to hear more about this, you can hear this angry black man screaming about it in this video. I really hate that it got so popular that my favorite company, Atlas, dropped Shin Megami Tensei 5 with Day 1 DLC. I pre-ordered this game and I was super excited about it, but after the honeymoon phase, I felt that something was missing. The story felt like it was lacking in character, some things made no sense. I found out that after research, that a lot of the story gets expanded on in the Day 1 DLC. It also includes extra characters and units I could play as, such as Artemis and Cleopatra. Another DLC included a secret boss, the strongest boss in the game, Demi-Fiend from Shin Megami Tensei 3. Combined, all the useful, because yes, there's also other DLC that's made for people who don't want to play the game. DLC costs about $21 extra along with the game's base price. My problem with these types of DLC is that they come out with the game. If the content is available on release when the game is out, players should be able to get them along with the game. They shouldn't have to pay extra money for content that's already available. It's a really greedy tactic that companies do, and the fact that this is getting popular does not make me happy.
Fortnite Battle Pass, I just shit out my...
Before this microtransaction era, gaming developers would have to put everything into making a game sell well. Now, however, they can release their games for free and put in-app purchases in them to make money, or add DLC to already retail priced games. Although there are some games that do microtransactions and DLC right, greedy companies will try their best to scam out players to make a profit. I hope that in the future, loot boxes will be fair, and video game companies will follow fair microtransaction rules like the one shown in this video. For now though, I'll continue to see microtransactions and terrible DLC practices in a negative light.